Welcome back to 843 TV at the Pete Dye Clubhouse at the Colleton River Club. We're learning all about some of the members that have some really neat stories and are involved with some really fun things here. And up next is Mr. Stephen Dixon. Good to have you, Stephen.
Thank you, Lisa.
Now, you have been here a couple of years, a little bit less than the other ladies. So share with us about your history, how you found Colleton River.
Sure. Well, my wife and I would come down and visit Hilton Head even before we had kids.
Imagine that. Most everyone's story.
That's right. And we would love it. We would come back. And so knew that eventually I'd like to retire down here. When I was working, we had a place in Florida. We didn't like that full time. We knew we wanted to come here. And so about 6 years ago, we came down for a trip in Hilton Head Island. My son was playing golf. Driving back, my wife said, I want to visit some places. So in the fall, she came back, looked at all the communities around here, and then called me the last day, and she said, I've got a lot of going by. And so she bought it.
I've got a lot. Okay, so she didn't call to check with you first.
Well, yes, she did. And I said, well, okay. And she's got a great history of buying properties, and I trusted her, and it's been fantastic.
Clearly, she did well, right?
It's fantastic.
So you're involved with more of the nature programs here.
Yeah.
And in particular, a bird watching group. So tell us about that.
Yeah. And it's different than, I spent 30-some years in the corporate world. I was a vice president controller for a Fortune 500 company, and I was still on two public boards, or one board before I retired. But I always loved nature, and I came out here, and you can look, and it's so incredibly beautiful. So about 3 years ago, I got involved in the annual Audubon Christmas Bird Count, which is a one-day event, a national event. And there were 30-some members out here, and it was a fantastic time. And then last year, the guy who was in charge of it said, I'm having a knee replacement, can you help take it over? And so Karen Anderson and I took it over, we organized it. And what we found out about that is there were many members who were very interested in birding. Yeah. They hadn't done it before, but they came down here to explore the nature. They loved the golf, but they also wanted to explore the nature. And so we started getting more formalized, the birding club. For the next 6 months, we're going to have monthly bird watches. We're going to have a beginning birder 101, where one of the experts is going to come in and say, hey, here's what to look for, different sizes of birds. And then we'll have the annual Audubon count. And so it's ways that we can get the members involved, just really understanding, exploring the incredible nature here.
And again, so much to learn just about the wildlife and the birds. It's just truly amazing. So as a bird watching, how does that work? How do you go bird watching?
How do you go bird watching?
I often wonder.
You just take a walk in the woods or out here in the marsh, and you bring your binoculars, and you just look at creation. It's just incredibly beautiful.
It is.
I'm an accountant, so I'm sort of a nerd, so I'll take my little book, and I'll check off all the birds I see, sort of collecting.
You count the numbers of how many
That's what we have to do. Yeah, last year we had over 80 species, and about 1,200 birds were sighted. But actually how to do it, you just get out in nature, and you just look.
Yeah.
And it is so beautiful here. We've got, again, over 80 varieties that I've seen here in the last year. People sort of get annoyed at me at the golf course because I'll bring my binoculars and we'll go out to these holes and I'll see a bird and they'll say, Steve, we're supposed to golf. But I'll come back later then. So
what about you ladies? Have you tried some of this bird watching? Or?
I have not tried the bird watching, but I certainly watch birds when we kayak. And it is a pleasure. I don't know all the names of them, but they're remarkable. To look out your window and see a blue herring right there is it's remarkable.
Now you mentioned kayaking, which is another wonderful outdoor activity. I understand all of you have a property where you can just get the kayak and go from your lot. What an opportunity.
It's fantastic.
So tell us about that and the kayaking and how that's organized.
Well, there's a formal kayaking club here at Colleton, and they'll go out once a month, different places, and then that's fun. But because we're all on the marsh, high tide, full moon, we can go out there. In fact, about a month ago, we went out right at sunset, and I think there was about a 9-foot tide, and about 8 of us went out, went kayaking as the sun was setting, and then went over to somebody's house and had a fire and some beverages, and it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely beautiful. And you mentioned the tides. That's another thing, just so much to learn about the tides and the different ranges and how that plays into even the birds and what they do, and it's just amazing stuff. So someone said you might be kayaking to the fantasy football thing. Is that true?
Yeah.
I live across the marsh from Anne Marie, and it wasn't high enough tide, but
That's funny.
Right.
What an interesting way to travel, right? I can say that. So what else besides nature again? There's birds, there's kayaking. Are there any other things that you're interested in doing here outside of those categories?
Well, golf is number one. But the biking. When I was working, I had to commute, and I didn't have the time to exercise that I should have. So I was able to retire and just made a focus on trying to get in better shape. And it might not look like it, but I'm in a lot better shape than I was. And so this is a beautiful place to bicycle. They've got a beautiful pool, kayaking. It's just an incredible place to get outdoor exercise, and I love that.
And as I was coming in here, which I've been here many times, noticed all the sidewalks that you can bike on and travel and see all the homes and just all the things. And I think that's how you really explore, when you just get out and go. You see the wildlife and what's happening through the trees, and it's just a wonderful place. So having spoken to all of you now, clearly it's a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful place to be. What would you share to someone who's maybe trying to make a decision on where to retire or where to buy property? Any last thoughts that you might want to help encourage someone and help make them decide?
I think this is a forever home kind of place. If you're looking for, some place to spend 1 or 2 weeks a year, I don't think this is it. If you're looking for some place that you want to ultimately live in full time, and even if you're not all the way there yet, some people move down here when they're not quite retired and they spend part of the year. This is a great place for that. I think this is a great forever home.
Yeah, the joke is that when we die and get to heaven, we hope we're not disappointed.
Well, I think we all can agree that it's a wonderful place, it's a beautiful place, and I've enjoyed talking to you all today and being here as always, and we thank you all for watching this episode of 843 TV, where communities come to speak.